from JakeMan21642. Today I bring you a long overdue update video, and I will say at the start, this is going to be the final video of my 2012 Volvo S60 T6 all-wheel drive. So long story short, I've already replaced the car, and I'll admit right now, if I didn't find what I found for what I bought it at, this car would not be going anywhere. I'll say at the start of this video too that this has been the best car I've ever owned, and if you can't tell from my tone in this video, kind of having a hard time letting it go, but I've had my fun with it. The way the market is right now, I bought what replaced it, at least for what I would like to think is right, and Carvana gave me an absolutely stupid number on this car, so the way everything kind of just worked out. So as I said, this is my 2012 Volvo S60 T6. I bought this car my final semester of college. As I've always joked, this is kind of my I'm an adult now, I need a real car. But I bought it 3 years and about 32,000 miles ago. I paid around, at the time, 17 grand out the door buying it certified with 46,000 miles on it. And in those 3 years, honestly, this has been the best car I've ever owned. I mean, it has never left me stranded. Few little things here and there, but no major issues. I mean, especially for an almost 10-year-old 300 horsepower turbocharged European car. Video, I would just do a brief overview, walk around, talk about a couple things, and let you guys see it one more time before it's gone. So outside, this is my favorite Volvo color, and I'm not just saying that because I own one. This is electric silver metallic, which just has this beautiful blue flake in it. This car actually is ceramic coated. I had a really good friend of mine do an absolutely insane detail on it when I was in Detroit about 2 years ago, and the ceramic coating is still holding up phenomenal. This car has not been washed in about 3 weeks. It still looks this good. So I love this exterior color. Super easy to keep clean, hides little scratches and things around the outside very well. Obviously, being a T6, you do get these wheels, which honestly, if the car was staying, because it's about to need tires again, these wheels would probably not be staying. They've grown on me. When I bought it, I was honestly not really a fan of the way they look, but they definitely have grown on me, but they destroy the ride quality of this car. Being a T6, it already does have the dynamic chassis, I believe it's called. I've got a copy of the window sticker inside, which I'll show. But that on top of these low-profile tires, and in the city where I live, where the roads are just miserable, this car does ride like a dump truck. There's definitely worse out there, and I've owned way worse, but for a luxury sedan, definitely more on the harsher side. So outside, these are the 18-inch wheels, and you can see about, let's say maybe 2.5 years ago at this point, I did put a set of Michelin Pilot AS3 tires on it. I actually still put these on when I was still living at my parents' house because I was about to move out. I knew once I moved out, I was not going to want to pay up for nice tires, so I went ahead and did it. And you can see with the way I drive, they have not lasted very long. So I put these on around 55,000 miles. The car's got about 78 now, and at least the front two, I mean, you can see it's done the typical Volvo thing where it's just the way these are aligned. They all do it. They will completely eat the inner and outer edge. I mean, the inner edge is right on the wear bars, and then you can see on the outer edge, it's definitely a little chewed up, but these have been great tires. For all seasons, they grip like summers. They were fine in the snow. I mean, in the lame amount of snow we got here, I never had any issues with them. Back tires are actually still pretty decent. Obviously, it's an all-wheel drive car, so if you replace two, you really should replace them all. But 235, 40 R18s, so the 18-inch alloys. New brakes as well. I had those replaced probably a year ago at this point. I went ahead and just did them all the way around. Original rotors, I think they lasted until about 68,000 miles or so on this car. And for a city car, that's not bad at all either. Like I said, though, I think this wheel is bent because I have to put air in it probably every 2 or 3 weeks. So if it stayed, I probably would have downsized to a set of 17s. Otherwise, on the back, you can see the dual exhaust, which from right here, that's just like my favorite angle of this car. And this platform as well has aged so good, if you ask me. But back here you can see S60 Volvo, and then T6 all-wheel drive Polestar. Did have the Polestar tune done, of course, which honestly, if you have one of these, I would say Polestar is the only way to go. It completely wakes this car up and makes it feel the way it should feel from the factory. So outside, I mean, only issues it's really had are kind of typical Volvo things. So both mirrors have been replaced. These always come unglued and will just fall off. This one fell off probably about a month after I bought it. And then on the driver's side, excuse me, this one fell off probably about a year later. I remember being on the way back from a concert in Hampton and looking over, and it went and just fell off on the highway. Up front, as you can probably see, which bothers me way more than it should, that headlight is a lot newer than that headlight. And that's because this one decided to leak and fill with water. And since it's an active vending HID, it killed everything inside. So that was a nice, even with my discount, I think $400 or $500 to replace. So yeah, if you have one of these and they start leaking water, do something about it immediately. Don't put it off like I did until it just toasts everything. But you can see LED daytime running lights on each side of the grille. This also does have the headlight sprayers, which were a cool gimmick at first. Now I'm at the point where I could do without them, because when you've got the car clean, you go to spray the windshield and it will just blast the entire front end. This thing also eats an insane amount of washer fluid thanks to those. Otherwise, outside though, I'm trying to think. Really, I will admit too at the start of this video that I had the CPO warranty on this car when I bought it. It did not pay for itself. That is how solid and how reliable this car has been. One thing, I believe the Haldex pump was replaced before I bought it. And honestly, that's not too common of a thing on these. So kind of just a fluke, but no major issues otherwise. Go ahead and get inside and talk about it a little more. This one as well is a fairly standard T6. As you can see, it does not even have blind spot monitoring. No backup camera, obviously no adaptive cruise or anything like that. But inside it does have the premium package, so you do get the power passenger seat, sunroof, heated seats, all of that. Obviously the active bending xenons, I believe those were a part of the premium package. They look awful right now because I have a gravel driveway, but did install a set of WeatherTech floor mats. I believe these aren't that bad if you actually buy them from WeatherTech. I bought these from an Amazon third-party seller who, they're not knockoffs, but they jammed them in a much smaller box than they go into. So they've kind of just never unfolded and actually molded to the floor. Honestly, with these, the Volvo OEM all-weathers are much better. I even do have in the back seat, even did get the all-weather for the rear. It's brown, so it doesn't match exactly. We'll go ahead and start it almost 10 minutes into this video. Of course, this one, no intelligent entry. Foot on the brake, stick the key in and press. Go ahead and close the door. And once you're inside of this S60, I mean, super typical Volvo. I've got plenty of videos of this car on my channel and plenty of videos of these in general. I mean, leather wrap steering wheel, your cruise, audio controls, all 4 of your automatic windows over here, power locks. Headlights are automatic, but they're the typical Volvo thing where that's auto mode. So if you just leave them on all the time, you've got the sensor up there. Lights come on and off, it just does its thing. 13, they changed this design to actually have a real auto mode. Your rear fog light right there, fuel cap, trunk release, electronic parking brake. It's funny, what replaced this, even though it is a newer luxury car, has a manual parking brake. So it's as long as it took me to get used to this, it's now taking me a little bit of getting used to not having an electronic parking brake. Otherwise inside though, I mean, this is a phenomenal interior. It has held up incredibly well. I mean, it's not a domestic car, so I don't think I've really had any interior quality issues in here. Nothing's broken. Couple little things is I did buy these on eBay. I even got a set for my mom's car. But these little door pocket things, they're awesome. They give you a little bit of extra storage. I also bought these, which over time they faded and they don't match as well. But this is just black plastic underneath, and I think someone on the forums was actually selling these, and they're just little stick-on metal pieces that go here, match up with the rest of the aluminum trim. Like I said, they matched when they were new, now they've faded. But you can tell they actually are real metal because they've kind of dented and scratched up pretty nicely. Gauges up here. I love this cluster. I will take this any day over the refresh of this model that had the digital gauge cluster that's just bright and annoying. It's not even that nice to look at. This is such a clean and nice design. As you can see, 78,701 miles. Really, this is the first time I've driven the car in like 2 weeks. I've been so obsessed with the new one. But you guys will see that soon. There's actually already videos of it on the channel. And if you're gonna be that guy that follows me on Instagram and drops in the comments, he bought a... Don't be that guy. Nobody likes you. Video's coming soon enough of it. Anyway, though, over here, you can use this, scroll through, bring up all kinds of different settings, things like that. You can see my average MPG in this one, and that's on a pretty good day, honestly. So that's one thing about these T6s is if you're like me and a majority of your driving is city driving, and the little bit of highway driving you do is in traffic, and you're a defensive driver, to say the least, like I am, don't expect to get better than 20 in this car. I've honestly seen it drop as low as like 17, 18. It really just depends, especially when it's hot out and you've got the air conditioning going. But for that 3-liter Turbo 6, honestly worth it. I have no complaints. I mean, if I wanted gas mileage, I'd go buy a damn Prius. I don't want a 4-cylinder, and this is what I get for not wanting a 4-cylinder. So if you are looking at one of these and gas mileage is your main concern, you may want to take a look at a T5 or even one of the newer ones with the Drive-E. 1920, mostly city driving, a little bit of highway thrown in there. I'd say that's about what to expect with one of these. So that, I would say that, and then the turning radius as well as the ride quality of this car, probably my biggest complaints. I mean, I replaced this with a much larger car that has a much better turning radius. So that's just a front-wheel drive base, transverse inline-6 thing. I mean, really nothing you can do. My first car was a Saturn, which, believe it or not, also had a god-awful turning radius, so I'm used to it. But other people get in this car, and they are shocked by the turning radius. So another thing to expect, that also does get a little old when you drive in the city as much as I do. I mean, this, especially with no camera or anything, this is not exactly an easy car to parallel park. In the middle, though, this is Volvo's old Census system, and everyone acts like it's so awful and so confusing to use. I still have no complaints at all. I think in the 3 years I've had this car, this thing is only stroked out once or twice. I think there was one time where it froze so bad I actually had to cut the car on and off, but otherwise, no issues with it, no complaints. It's super easy to use. I'm at the point where I've been in these and I've been around this car for so long, I can control it and do everything without even looking. I mean, a majority of everything, you know, media and music-wise, is controlled from right here on the wheel. So, yeah, it's a little old. Yeah, it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it works. And that's all. And it's not a touchscreen. And that's all I care about. I mean, everyone acts like iDrive is the gold standard, and I think iDrive is the most needlessly complicated system out there. But no complaints. Like I said, I mean, this car, before my parents both got their Volvos, I would just hand them the keys to this and let them drive it, and they would get in here and figure everything out. I mean, it basically works like a regular radio. Volume, tune, and then everything else is super clearly labeled. Bluetooth audio streaming, kind of typical Volvo. It's a little annoying if you have someone in the car who wants to connect their phone and play music, because then the next time you get in, and this is a typical Volvo thing. I mean, even the 21s do this, and I don't understand it. It will try to connect to that phone. Then when you try to get it to connect to your phone, it won't, and you have to delete both and then repair. So I'm used to it, but again, typical Volvo thing, kind of annoying. Dual zone, automatic climate control, of course, in this one. No issues with that. It works great. I mean, this is the first car I've ever owned where when I'm flooring it to pass someone on the highway, the air still stays ice cold, and I appreciate that so much. But all the climate controls down there, and you can see as well all of the blank switches in this car. Like I said, no nav, no bliss, no backup camera, none of that, and I'm fine with that. But down here, storage compartment, it's the typical Volvo floating center display. You have the shifter for your 6-speed auto. This is an Eisen transmission. I believe this is the exact same transmission as a Fusion Sport. It feels like one. Literally, too, in this car, I just had the trans fluid done like probably 800 miles ago. So whoever gets this is getting nice fresh trans fluid. No issues with it. I just was way overdue the miles. It's a city car. I figured I would get it done. And if you have one of these that's starting to do the really harsh first gear downshift like they all do, or just in general the trans does not feel as great as it once did, get a flush done. This car has felt brand new ever since I had that done. Another thing too I forgot to mention, and I know in a video a while ago I mentioned this car was out of commission due to no fault of its own. That is because a piece of flying ice from another person's vehicle broke my windshield. Entire story and ordeal around that. I got it on dash cam. I don't think I can attach it to this video though, because I ended up selling it to a viral media company, and the video's been on like the New York Post and a Japanese TV channel and everything. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of the cool side, but this car also was out of commission for a solid month and a half as I fought with insurance to get it fixed. So, along with fresh trans fluid, whoever gets this car, you are getting a brand new, and not just a brand new windshield, a brand new Volvo OEM windshield that I fought like hell to have put in this car, and then ended up replacing it. Back here though, 2 cup holders. No complaints here. These cup holders are honestly a lot better than the car I've replaced this with. Notice how they're designed well, and they're not near anything. No buttons or anything like that. Granted, you do have the 12-volt outlet that everyone seems to spill things in, but 2 cup holders, all of that. And they hold drinks very, very well. I love the deep front one. Back here, of course, too, you have the typical Volvo cover. Storage inside of there, all of that. USB, auxiliary in. The USB port in this one, I never used it to charge my phone. It's absolutely useless. It is beyond a slow charger. It doesn't even charge. It just keeps your phone from dying anymore. So, always just have my dash cam plugged into that the entire time I've had it. And then the auxiliary, I don't think I've ever used in this car. Auxiliary and FM radio, I don't think either of them have been used in my entire ownership of this car. Up top, sunroof, of course. I love to with the Euro sunroof vents where you can have it popped but still have it closed. If you're like me and you absolutely hate the sun, so you can still get some of the benefits. All of the interior lighting in this car, I did swap out to LED. Thankfully, my new car is the first car I haven't had to do that in. But very nice. I also did the LED plate bulbs, which this car honestly should have had from the factory. But I think that's about everything up front. Just take a quick one more little walk around to the car. I mean, and I know I keep saying it, but I really have no complaints about this car. I mean, yeah, a few minor things, gas mileage, bad turning radius, kind of low on equipment, which I honestly prefer, but this has been a phenomenal car. As I said, if I didn't find what I found, it would still be staying, but the way the market is right now, the couple little things this car needs and the way I can get out of it with all of the equity I have, kind of a no-brainer. Backseat of this car is not the best, but I've still put it to use. I've had 3 adults back here driving all the way back from DC from concerts when they were still a thing. But headrests, typical Volvo, you can pop them down and out of the way. Mine kind of marked the seat because they have been down literally the entire time I've owned it. But I mean, I'm 6'2", that's where I would sit, and my knees touch, but it's still a comfortable back seat. It's super plush, typical Volvo leather, and I forgot to mention that up front, but I think it kind of goes without saying that Volvo just makes incredibly comfortable seats. Back seat pockets each side, power outlet, which I need to find a little cover for it. It's somewhere in here. Armrest in the middle, 2 cup holders, storage. And then, of course, the seats, even though this car is terrible for hauling stuff, the seats do split fold, and then you do have a ski pass right there. This car was immaculate when I bought it. And a lot of the little things like this throughout I've done because I have used this thing. I know this, I remember the day I did this cramming a mini fridge into the back of this car. Worth it. Another thing I will point out too is, at least on this side, I kind of have torn up the back seat, or at least the leather. Doesn't look as great as it did when I bought it, because I kind of just treated the back seat of this car like a trunk. Because as I will show you right now, the trunk in this car is not that good. Especially, I mean, I used to live in an apartment, so I kept most of my tools, my detailing stuff, all of that inside, especially when this was my main daily driver. I also had, and I took it out because I meant to put it in my mom's S60, but I had the spare tire that's actually inside of the bag inside of here, so that took up a lot of space. See this all-weather from a V60 I stole. Carpet underneath's immaculate. My inflator kit and all of that. I'm just going to pretend like I didn't use that earlier today. And of course, backseat releases up top, all of that. I mean, not bad, but when you carry the normal amount of stuff that anyone would carry in a car, the trunk is basically useless for other than a few bags of groceries. On the back too, I do this on most of my cars, kind of this car's been here corner, so drove it all the way out to Michigan 2 summers ago. It's been to Topsail Island down in the Outer Banks, and then Montauk, New York. Did the full Long Island experience in this thing. I mean, I know I keep saying it, but if anything tells you how great this car has been and how impressed me and even though it's my car, my entire family has been around it, is the fact that since I got this, I pulled my mom out of a Volkswagen into another S60. She's got a T5 front-wheel drive, honestly perfect for her. It's all she needs. And then my dad now has the XC60. So for a little while, we were an all-Volvo family. And that's also why I'm not too sad to see this go, is because I work at a Volvo dealer. We've got 2 other Volvos in the household. Anytime I want to drive a Volvo, I can. And I've had my fun with this T6. Obviously, speaking of gas mileage too, with the Polestar tune in this one, you do have to run premium. So that's another thing to remember, is 20 miles per gallon on premium. Back seat over here though, everything follows through. I really, really did try my best to take good care of this car and keep it clean, because this is the nicest thing I've ever owned, up until what's replaced it. But I mean, growing up, my family did not have nice cars. We did not have anything like this. It was not that long ago that I was driving a Saturn, and I was blown away and excited because it was the first car I've ever owned with power steering. So it still feels a little weird to me to be getting rid of a car that is legit as this thing. Passenger side though, as I said, premium package. So it's got the power passenger seat, and just a little preview of things to come for anyone that stayed tuned this long. Obviously, if you can't tell either, I cleaned all of my stuff out. So inside of here, as I mentioned, I do have a copy of the original window sticker. This car wasn't sold at my dealership, but it was sold at one here in Virginia. So you can see, yeah, Volvo Virginia Beach, that's what I thought. 2012 T6 all-wheel drive. Kind of pause and read everything. Metallic paint, premium package, and that's about it. It was still $41,000 brand new. But I will put that in there to make sure it is included for whoever ends up with it. Also have the Know Your Census DVD. Of course, the Polestar certificate for the people on here that were trying to say it's not Polestar. It definitely is. And then even the lifetime warranty for the tint that I did on this car. Which, that's another thing with this car. If I was keeping it, I would definitely re-tint it. When I bought it, I still kind of cared, and I went easy and did 35 all around. And then at one point, I don't think it's ever been on video, but I did have a shield strip on my old windshield. But definitely now I've been spoiled by the Outback, and would do this a lot darker. I think this car with 20 or even 5 all around would just look amazing. Back window though, it is, I think it's 20%. I think it's 35% with 20 over it. I know it's kind of ghetto, but I at least wanted the back window darker at one point. And up front, see projector HID headlights. That one is also a lot more high intensity than that one is, since that bulb is significantly older. And of course too, like I mentioned, they are the active benders. And that one being a lot newer than that one, active bins a lot faster, and that bothered me a lot more than it should. Under the hood though, 3-liter turbo 6. I can't remember the last time I cleaned under here, so it looks terrible. But everything has been great on this car. I mean, I'm trying to think of things that have been done under the hood. Washer fluid bottle was replaced because that got cracked at some point, which was honestly probably my fault and not the car's. Did pop a K&N air filter in it. It also did get a brand new Volvo battery before I bought it, so one less thing I had to worry about. One of the AC lines was replaced when it was still under warranty. Doing the typical Volvo thing where it gets loud. There's an updated part that has a muffler built into the line, but the air conditioning compressor is still just as loud. So honestly, like, if your car's out of warranty and that's bothering you, don't even bother getting the updated part. It doesn't make that much of a difference. Otherwise though, outside of standard maintenance, just oil changes, really, that's it. Oil changes. Like I said, I've replaced the brakes and tires once, and this car's been phenomenal. And I know 30,000 miles does not seem like a lot, but they have been 30,000 miles of city hard driving on this car, and it has treated me so well. Here, of course, when I stop talking, the engine fan stops screaming. Another thing too, it does need this top mount replaced. You can see through it, which is typical Volvo, but still not good. I think this one's on its way out, and then the one below it is slowly collapsing. So, I mean, that's kind of my logic. Is this has been a great car, but I've got plenty of equity in it. I can still get out of it very nice. And if I keep it, I'm going to have to start spending some money on it. And not that it's a bad car, just it's a car with close to 100,000 miles. So, kind of figuring 78K, no major issues. Kind of never a better time to sell. Other thing too, of course, being at the dealer, I did put a set of Volvo OEM wiper blades on it. But 30 minutes almost into this video, I think I've said all I've got to say. I mean, if you're looking at one of these, I would definitely test drive a T5, because even as much as I love this 3-liter and as great as this car has been, living with my mom's T5 and being around it, I think I would have been just as happy in a T5. So if gas mileage is your main concern, definitely take a look at that. And I mean, Volvo's 5-cylinders are incredible. But otherwise, I mean, it's been a great car. I've loved it. I know I've said that about 20 times now. And any questions, comments, recommendations, anything like that, drop them down below. I'm sure the second I cut this off, I'm going to remember everything I have to say. But great ownership experience, 10 out of 10, would recommend. And I know one day I'm definitely going to regret selling this one. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe for more.